I always had a really positive learning experience. I've never like felt so supported in my learning. And they were just, they really cared, but they also made time for fun. Like I have the best memories of maybe the lessons that we learned, but also the times we took a day off. Like it was just a really great balance.
First of all, could you please give me a summary of what you've been up to since you graduated from school, such as where are you going to school, where are you going to university, what did you study, and what are you doing for the summer?
For sure. So after I graduated from Mentor in 2016, I went to the University of Western Ontario to study a double major in the School for Advanced Studies in the Arts and Humanities and English Language and Literature. That first program was kind of like a flagship program at Western, and it essentially was targeted towards more like high achieving students who wanted to study arts and humanities. So it was a little bit more of like a competitive program. And so that was kind of why I chose Western. And then after graduating from Western this past June, I have just been kind of at home, obviously, not being able to maybe travel as much as I wanted to, or other kind of programs and jobs I had were canceled, unfortunately, but that's the way these things go. So currently I'm just looking for opportunities to get involved in my community, whether that's work or volunteering, and kind of staying at home, hanging out with my family, taking it day by day, really.
Yeah, good for you. Now you have a degree. What's the name of your degree?
Yes, so my official degree is an honors double major in, like I said, the School for Advanced Studies in the Arts and Humanities and English Language and Literature, as well as an additional kind of side program called Scholars Electives, which was also unique to Western. It essentially allowed me to undertake individual research projects in my degree for course credit. So through that program, I wrote a play and I wrote a collection of personal essays, and both of those have been performed and published since then, which is really cool.
Wow.
Career goal is like arts and culture critic at some point, but it changes every day, honestly.
Do you think that Mentor College influenced your choice of university and your area of study, Amelia?
I definitely think Mentor pushed me to want to be challenged and like to kind of be a high achiever in my post-secondary studies. That school is full of kids who always want to do better and be better than they were the day before. And so that environment, while it can be sometimes like a lot of pressure, it pushes you to grow and really helps you to find the joy and the value in challenging yourself and not just kind of taking the easy way route if you know that you're going to be good at it, versus like trying something new that you think that you can grow into. So I do think it definitely influenced me in that sense. Like I applied to a bunch of different general arts programs, but I really ended up going for SASA because I knew it was going to be a challenge. And I think that's a value I definitely learned from Mentor, if not kind of was reinforced there. Mentor is a very academic school. I know they kind of like to talk about how they like to prepare students for university, and they absolutely do. They have a lot of different arts programs, and all of my teachers, I adored them. Especially all my English teachers, hence where I am today. They have a drama department, they have a visual arts department. So I do think that the quality of the education I received in the arts and how enjoyable that experience was for me definitely influenced me to go into English for sure.
If you were to write a resume, Amelia, listing your experiences and accomplishments and interests while you're at Mentor College, what do you think it would say? For example, you already touched on it. What subjects did you prefer and excel at?
So it's funny you should say that. We do get subject awards every year. There's an awards assembly. I have my stack on the shelf. If you really want the full complete answer, I can pull them out. But I would say that I really tended towards the arts and humanities. So world issues, writer's craft, English. I did also like other courses. So like I loved bio. But I definitely would say Mentor helps you to become a very well-rounded student. So I wouldn't say all my awards were just kind of like one discipline in that sense.
Just think back a sec here, Amelia. What would you say is your proudest memory of the school?
Ooh, okay, I did take notes for this, so I might be looking down for a second.
Sure, take your time.
I would say some of my like best memories there. So first of all, since we're on the topic of theater for a minute, the the mentor has this program called the Hoffman Drama Collective, where students come together, they write a play, direct the play, organize the set, props, costumes, all themselves. And I was a part of that for 3 years. And in my final year, I was able to write the play and direct it as well. And that was just a really proud moment for me. That was really fulfilling because like in my younger years in high school, I was watching them, like I was in them, kind of seeing how they all went on. And then to be at the helm of it. And in that year, because we're not in art school, like we still have a lot of support. Like my drama teacher at the time, Miss Wilkinson, was a huge supporter to me. But we don't necessarily have the same infrastructure of like COFRA. So mentor doesn't necessarily place or medal or go forward in that competition every year. But our year we got 2 awards that were like honorable mention. And so that was a big deal for me also. So that was definitely a very, very proud moment for me. When I was on the mock trial team in grade 11, we won like the district or the regional, I don't remember which were these, I think it was like a regional tournament. And I was like the accused on the team. So I like got acquitted every time. That was very fun.
Think back to when you and your family were choosing a school. How and why did you choose mentor?
It's a bit of a case of circumstance, honestly, for me. So I went to private school because my brother went to my older brother.
Oh.
And my older brother went to private school because he started school a year early and the public schools wouldn't take him. And my parents didn't want him to be behind because he was ready for school, that kind of thing. And the reason we ended up at Mentor specifically was because my school shut down halfway through grade 2. And so Mentor said that they would take the kids in and not make us like start again from the beginning, but like pick us up where we left off. So that just worked out. And then I was just really happy there. So I stayed.
Oh, excellent. That's fair enough. If you had to pick one thing, what did you appreciate most about attending Mentor? At least one thing.
Yes. Oh God. So many things, of course. I think I would say, especially now that I've talked to students who didn't go to Mentor and were in public school and things like that, I really appreciated the amount of extracurricular opportunities there were and the amount of support there was for student ideas and initiatives. So kind of a 2-pronged answer, but I didn't realize that certain schools like don't offer drama or don't offer certain sports or don't offer things like that was never in my vocabulary when I was at Mentor. We offered everything we possibly could. And I definitely took that for granted while I was there. I mean, I got involved in as much as I could, but I didn't realize that that wasn't the norm. So I definitely appreciate that in retrospect. And while I was there, it really allowed me to kind of try out my different interest areas, see which ones stick versus which ones are just a hobby for me. And while I was there, there was also this kind of, these few different years, there were a couple of different student groups who approached the administration to say they wanted to run a conference. And by the time I graduated, there was like 4 full-fledged conferences running at the school. So one was like a health and wellness, one was a business conference, and then I was part of organizing a gender equity conference. So those were just really cool experiences for students to have and to bring the community together on a topic. So I would definitely say like kind of the extracurricular opportunities I really appreciated both then and now.
Wow, great answer. Thank you for that. Now, further to this, let's step back for a moment to see Mentor as objectively as possible. To the best of your knowledge and in your mind, what differentiates Mentor from other schools that families may choose instead?
Right.
Even if you think you touched on something before, it's okay to repeat.
For sure. So I should say full disclosure, I've only ever been to one school. Like I went to Mentor in grade 2 and I truly never left. So I guess that kind of speaks to the question, which is that I was so happy there. And the thing that made me so happy there was honestly, I loved all my teachers. I always had a really positive learning experience. I've never like felt so supported in my learning. And they were just, they really cared, but they also made time for fun. Like I have the best memories of maybe the lessons that we learned, but also the times we took a day off. Like it was just a really great balance. Yeah, year after year. And even if I didn't have a teacher I wasn't like close with, which I did have quite a few, and I'm very lucky for that, I still learned a lot from them and they really helped me to grow as a person. So I would say Mentor's greatest asset, if that's kind of what you're getting at, is definitely the teaching staff that they hire and the community that they've grown through that, because those people really care about their students.
You feel
which
that
goes to my extracurricular answer, because they give up a lot of their time to make the school run and be what it is, right? So they run the extracurriculars, all that kind of stuff.
So you feel that that differentiate that's what sets mentor apart is that teaching.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because like I'm a nerd and I love school, but I don't think many people can say that like they were very close with all the teachers, or they felt very like supported and connected throughout every single year, like from grade 2 to grade 12. So I think that's definitely an asset. Um, if I wanted to say something a little more concrete, I would also say that their resources are really cool. So they have an outdoor education center in Muskoka, and that encourages like students go like once a year. So classes will go like 2 at a time to also learn about the outdoors, we'll learn about leadership, and that's always a really fun time, especially for students who maybe don't have a cottage and don't have an opportunity to do those things otherwise.
Right.
That's a really great time, and I don't think a lot of schools have that. So I would say that as well was definitely like a highlight of my experience there.
Okay, let's take this a step further. Say Mentor College was to become personified.
Okay.
It's going to be a person.
Yeah.
And if you can wanted to get to know this single person mentor, describe its personality in 3 words.
I would say proud, rigorous,
Ooh,
and supportive, as I've been talking about before.
let's go into those a bit. You talked about supportive. Let's go into those other 2.
Mm-hmm.
Pride, proud.
So we have a lot of school pride, and we definitely, each student knows that they bear the school's reputation in one way or another. I know that especially when you get into high school and you start going out for lunch off campus in your uniform, it's a big deal to make sure that you're still behaving properly, that you are representing your school in everything you do. So being polite, being kind, all those kinds of things, that's like the bare minimum they expect of you. And I know in the past, like Mentor always will tell us stories about how a shopkeeper said that we had really kind students come in and all this kind of stuff, and they'll call the school. So school pride and school reputation are a very big deal there. And it's something that they're, for lack of a word, very proud of, and they work very hard to maintain and instill that value in its students as well to uphold that.
Good.
Rigorous, I said, because it is a tough school. Like it's a great school, but it does challenge you every step of the way. So there's ISUs, there's midterm exams, there's final exams, and all of these things are normal. But when you're taking, 6 or 7 or 8 courses at a time, instead of 4 and 4, it's a lot to balance. It's a lot of time management. It's a lot of leaning on your friends for support and study groups and kind of figuring out how you're going to push through it, and not only push through, but excel. So because everyone there, like I said, really wants to be the best that they can be. There is an air of competition, but that's to be expected, I think. That's why I said rigorous, is just because it is a very thorough education in not only academics, but also in transferable skills like time management and that kind of thing.
Let's hone in on something here. In actual practice, what do you think mentors' highest values are? Gone
Well,
from
I can
personality,
quote
not
you their
word, but
school motto, which is leading by example and inspiring excellence. That was read to me, I remember, on the first day of grade 5, and then we just did not forget it. So basically, and that's really in everything they do. So leading by example, like I said, in my view, the teachers are excellent. And I definitely wanted to be them at one point or another. And so they truly do lead by example, but you're also encouraged, especially as you grow through the school, to become a leader yourself. Like I remember when you go to the OEC, the Outdoor Education Center in Muskoka, in grade 8, that it's really focused on like leadership and characteristics and what do you need to be a good leader. So they encourage everyone in their own way to find ways that they can lead also. So I would say that leading by example applies not only to the staff, but also to the student body, which is very cool. And inspiring excellence, like I said, it's a school that, you're expected to want to be better than you were the day before. And there's lots of opportunities for you to show that growth also. So the first one that comes to mind, for example, is we have this annual speech competition. Every student has to write and put on a speech. And we have class winners. So someone from every class will go to like the school-wide competition and present on like the big stage in front of the student body. And from there, you also have like grade winners and things like that. So that for me was like a really big hurdle because I wanted to win so badly. And so the first year of my high school, I got to the competition, didn't win. The second 2 years, I also didn't make it, period. So that was really, and I saw my other peers, and that really inspired me to do better. And then in my final year, I did make it to the competition. I did win it. So that was kind of a really nice way to end it off. But I would say that in that journey for me specifically, that was kind of a way that my peers really inspired me to do better, seeing how they performed and how they got to where they were.
You seem to inspire one another by your
No, my
accomplishment.
peers were and continue to be some of the coolest, most driven, most innovative people I've known. Like, for example, if you look up the mentor pages right now, you'll see that four alumni from my class just started a initiative to send cards to seniors in care homes that may not
Wow,
have other people.
nice.
And if you knew them, like, that makes total sense for them. Like, they're the sweetest people I've met. And it of course makes sense that they would start an initiative like that. So that's very cool to see. And yeah, it really, like, the values that you learn there, they don't stop. Like, they continue after mentor. So
Superb.
yeah.
Let's take this further. What do you think students and families would find surprising about Mentor College?
Interesting. I would say, so when I was there, things might have changed, but when I was there, the facilities are, I'm going to say, unassuming. They're good and you have everything you could possibly need.
Yeah.
But for example, when I was there, the projectors were kind of like that overhead projector with like the plastic film sheets and things. I think my mom had used them. So I've heard that those are a little outdated.
Film
And
strips, you mean?
yeah, something like that. And our field also, when I was there, was like really kind of a patchy, bad, grassy mess. But I think since then they've put in an AstroTurf field. So I think they've solved that problem. But I think for me, something that is surprising, personally in retrospect, because people at Western would find out I went to private school and be like, oh, did you go to school in a castle? I'd feel like, absolutely not. It was not a castle. So I would say the facilities are maybe like gorgeous buildings, very comfortable. All the classrooms are great, neat, tidy. Like I said, everything you could possibly need. But I wouldn't say we have state-of-the-art technology. But
Okay,
that's not, that isn't to anyone's detriment. I would just say if there's room to improve, a couple things could use a little sprucing up.
can you please describe for me a typical student at Mentor College and how you remember students relating to one another?
I would say the typical student, if you like caught someone in the hallway one day and asked them to tell you a little bit about themselves, they would be, first of all, from any background. Western, we even have like a cultural diversity show and fair. So it really, that's, I also think is a huge strength of the school, is that it attracts all kinds of people from all sorts of backgrounds, which only benefits your learning. And again, something I really came to appreciate in retrospect more so. So really any background, take your pick. And they'd probably be a little stressed out at any given time just because of the amount of work they have to do, probably on their way to do an extracurricular, and very driven. They probably already have a sense of what they want to be when they grow up. And they probably acknowledge that's going to change in like 2 years. Yeah, I would just say very driven, a little stressed out, but confident that they can handle it.
Do you think your experience at Mentor College has shaped the person you are today?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would be foolish to say otherwise because I spent all of my formative years there. No, 100%. My time at Mentor really shaped me into the person I am. For me personally, in terms of what I want to get out of life, because they really pushed me to see my full potential and work to fulfill my full potential. So never to settle, really, and to know that I can always do better, even if I'm already doing well as it is. So I think that's been the greatest value, especially now that I'm graduated out of university, kind of figuring out how to forge a path from here. That lesson to kind of know that there's, I can always go up and go forward, and that it just takes a little hard work, and asking for help if I need it, all those kinds of things. Certainly have developed me into the person I am. And also, like I said before, the opportunities that the school has, like I probably wouldn't have I absolutely wouldn't have discovered my love of theater if it wasn't for Mentor, because the only reason I got into theater was when I started there in grade 2, I got lost on the way to like the lunchroom and I ended up in the audition room for Pinocchio. And I just kind of sat down because I was new and I didn't know anyone. So I was like, oh, I guess we're doing this. And my mom tells me, I think I sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star because I obviously wasn't prepared.
Wow.
And I was in the show. And yeah, that was it for me. So by that alone, definitely shaped me in the person I am.
I can see you in the theater,
Oh, thank
either
you.
behind the scenes or on stage. Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Reflecting back on your experience there, Amelia, if you had to pick something to change about the school, what would it be? I know you alluded to it a little bit earlier on, but
Mhm.
what would you change if you could?
Yeah, well, I'll put a finer point on that. I think that there's room for, and again, this might have changed since I've been there, but based on my experience, I think there's room for the school to adopt more kind of web technology,
Mhm.
and connect students, teachers, and parents a little more. Like I know there's a bunch of different programs out there, where students can maybe like securely email their teachers if they're having an issue, or if parents can look at feedback and stuff like that. It's not a huge thing, but I think for me, one thing that I would have liked to see more of is just kind of, since we are, in this age where the internet is involved in everything, I think in my experience in high school, I would have liked to see like maybe more of like a web portal, for students, teachers, parents, whoever needs it. I think that would have streamlined some things and avoided a lot of haphazard issues, like if you lost an assignment, explanation, things like that. So I would just say a little more technologically savvy, perhaps.
Okay, Amelia, how's your perspective on Mentor and your experience there evolved over time? It's been, what, 4 years since you graduated.
It has.
How's it feel looking back at the school?
You know, I've said this a bunch, but the amount of things that I was grateful when I was there, but I don't think I fully realized while I was in that kind of mentor bubble, I'll call it, while I was just in that school and I wasn't going to any other schools, things like that, how much of a privilege it was to go there. Like I knew my parents were paying for tuition, and obviously that's why I worked really hard to make sure that that investment paid off. But I don't think I fully understood, like I said, all the extracurriculars that were offered that if I went to another school, I might not have been able to do, or the amount of like care and concern I felt from my teachers and the amount of support also. I feel like that I chalked that up to like, oh, maybe I just like get along well, but I really think it was just, they really care about all their people. So I definitely would say, looking back now, it was more of a privilege than I think I ever realized. And yeah, I guess I have a very rosy view looking back because it's been a few years now, but like definitely some stressful moments, definitely some hard days, but I think I came out better, all the better for it. So grateful all the same.
Would you recommend that other students enroll in Mentor College?
I would absolutely recommend it, even if you stay there for a few years and if you leave, because I had a bunch of classmates went in and out, obviously, as these things go. But I think even a little time that you spend there, you don't have to spend your entire formative education there, but
Okay.
even a little time that you spend there, I think will greatly benefit you, just to see what's out there, to have meet that person that's in your corner and sees your potential, to have those experiences that you might not get at other schools, like I talked about, whether it's outdoor education or all those other kind of extracurriculars I was mentioning. I definitely would recommend it, for sure.
The addendum to that was going to be, can you give me 3 reasons? And I think you covered it already.
For sure.
Okay, great. But outside of those 3 reasons, Amelia, is
Hmm.
there anything you would say to a family considering Mentor College right now? What should they know
Ooh.
that you haven't covered?
I was a student ambassador. So let me see. What did I used to say to them? I would say for prospective families, it's really like, it's exactly what it professes to be, what it appears to be. There's no lies, there's no tricks, there's no gimmicks, there's no games. Mentor really gives a very well-rounded education, a very rigorous education. So it's not going to be an easy ride, but really you don't want that. I can say that now that I'm on the other side of it. Like you don't really want that, because when you get to university, it's true. Like I was fine. Like first year, I'm not saying it was a breeze, but I knew that I could handle it. But seeing my peers that maybe hadn't been in that kind of a pressured environment before, or where like a lot is expected of you all the time, kind of struggle with that and like lose their balance a little bit,
Mm.
definitely helped me to fully appreciate a little more how, when mentor says like they're preparing you for university or for these kinds of situations in life, like they absolutely mean it. And that preparation comes not only inside the classroom but outside of the classroom. Like they build not only intelligent and capable individuals, but they also build like compassionate individuals, and caring ones, and ones that always are looking for a way to make things better or looking for a gap that needs to be filled. So very innovative thinkers as well, very big on critical thinking. So I basically see like what you're seeing, all these kind of flashy buildings and presentations on like an open house day is not just for show. Like that is what you're getting into.
And what about a family touring or visiting the school? Is there anything you draw their attention to above all else? Any outstanding physical features?
Oh, so I spent a lot of time in the auditorium, so I'd probably show them that. But we also had like a horizontal rock climbing wall in the gym. We had, I think they like refurbished so we have a few gyms actually. I think there's technically 3, but really 2 of them get used a lot. One of them has a horizontal rock climbing wall in it, which I always thought was really cool. We have all of our music rooms downstairs, so that kind of like that music corridor is really neat. And there's also a lot of student art around, so I always love to show that because, like I said, we what you see is what you get. And so when I say that teachers are very supportive and that you give students a lot of opportunities to showcase their talents and push themselves, like student art is displayed everywhere. There's murals, there's like everything's hanging up, so it's very much like you feel the culture and you feel the community when you step in there, and it's all very like authentic. And so I would probably show off like not only the student work, but also like kind of like the cool neat features that I didn't think every other school had. So those are the first 2 that come to mind. And like I said, it's been a few years, but those things I always thought were pretty
I can tell it makes me want to drive over and have a look. That's good. Okay, one more thing, Amelia. I'm going to ask you to, I want to see Amelia, the performer here.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to do this. Imagine looking in the camera and you're going to be talking to a student who's about to enter Mentor College. And you have a piece of advice to give to that student. And I'm the student. What's your best piece of advice for me?
Ask for help when you need it, because it's there, but only if you ask for it. I think that when you are in an environment that is very rigorous, always pushing you to be better, sometimes you feel like if you fall, like you have to pick yourself back up. And maybe sometimes that's true, but also, like I said, it's a very caring, supportive environment, and other people want to see you succeed. It's not just you that wants to see you succeed. And there's a lot of different supports there. So ask for help when you need it, because it's there for you and it's waiting. So, yeah.